Okay, so critical manufacturing, you fairly recently you held the MES and Industry 4.0 International Summit. I guess it'd just be good to get an understanding of how you felt the event went, and then we'll drill down into what was actually, what was discussed. But first up, just tell us, how you felt it went.
Sure, I can go first. So I'm Jeff Winter, and I was the host of the event. And 2 years ago, when they had their first event, I was the keynote speaker, and this time was lucky enough to come back and be the host. And it was a little exciting because I also got to help with the planning of the event. I thought the event was a huge success. I know I'm a little biased because I'm the keynote of the first time, was my first exposure to the company, is my first exposure to this type of event, but I was excited and wanted to be a part of it this time. And I think this time we did even more, even better. We had about 600 people in total from, I think, 25 different countries. Some of the speakers that we had were top notch in the industry. And I really liked the breakout that we had to foster discussion and roundtables and collaboration so that people walked away not only with exciting, innovative ideas and real world case studies, but they met people that they could walk away with knowing who to talk to if they had more questions on how to do this stuff.
Yeah, so I would add that the event was really great. I think we could really feel energy and excitement of people, professionals. Like Jeff said, a little bit from all over the world. I saw people from Colombia, from Brazil, China, Australia, so a little bit from everywhere, and everyone united on a mission, the mission of digital transformation. And so, yeah, like Jeff said, a lot of people, thought leaders, analysts, some of our customers, technology partners, system integrators, and all in a program with 2 days. And one of the things which is always a highlight is that this happened in the beautiful city of Porto, in an outstanding location. It's a former customs house from the 19th century by the river, right in the middle of a UNESCO Heritage City Center. So this was really the merge of the convergence of technology and tradition working side by side. So could not be happier with the results of what we got during this summit.
Excellent. You're making me jealous that I wasn't there, to be fair, with that description. But in terms of what the themes that were covered, I guess at the summit there were a number, and I imagine AI is front and center in most sort of business environments. So perhaps that would be a good place to start. I guess the growing role of AI in your specific area, I guess, was one of the main themes. So tell us a bit more about what was discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can go next. So I think the main theme for such an event is always digital transformation in MES. So it's a common journey that most people there went or are going through. But this time around, AI really took the main stage because there's such an acceleration of technology with the potential to really transform everything we know around manufacturing and manufacturing solutions. And I think this was really what sparked energy throughout the event. Want to add something, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that so the underlying part, like Francisco says, this is a Industry 4.0 and an MES conference, and it's our company's vision to make Industry 4.0 reality. That's kind of the underlying theme. But I would say the technology that took front and center was artificial intelligence. It made its way into, I think, every single presentation, every single discussion, every single demonstration, one way or another, because the technology is so ubiquitous and capable in what they're doing. So we're seeing the concept of execution through MES being elevated, and it's inspiring people right now for new possibilities that 10 years ago they didn't even think were possible. And so I think it was a very exciting summit from the fact that you walked away with not only ability to do stuff today, but a future glimpse of what's coming in just the very near future. In the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see huge transformations in how manufacturing operates.
Okay, I'm wondering, I mean, I've heard about one or two people suggesting there's some kind of need for a transition from the current maybe smart factory to, I think people are calling it a thinking factory. I don't know whether that was specifically covered or whether it was or not. If you've got any thoughts as to what's going on, is that what you're seeing, if you like, the thinking factory is where people are wanting to head?
Well, I'll cover this one more broadly first and then let Francisco add to it because the thinking factor is a big part of his particular presentation. But when I look at it, I do see a shift in the industry from the idea of talking about smart factories to what we're hoping to be a big pusher for is the thinking factory. So smart factories, I like to define more as connected, automated, and informed. It's really largely reacts to kind of predefined scenarios and rules, and the intelligence in that scenario is usually just applied to optimize existing workflows, not to rethink them. And that's where the idea of the thinking factory comes in, where now you shift to autonomous, adaptive, and strategic, where you're able to make complex decisions and complex trade-offs real time. And so it's a different way of looking at how you approach manufacturing from the, like I said, the smart idea of just kind of connected, automated, and informed to autonomous, adaptive, and strategic. You want to add anything, Francisco?
Well, yeah. So yes, absolutely. So I think I was able to set the conference on fire with talking about the thinking factory and specifically with the talks around AI agents. So essentially, what I tried to do in terms of AI is make everyone understand that there was three waves of AI. There are three waves of AI. There is one that started more or less around 2010, which was the classical machine learning. So this one required a lot of structured data science people, and really trying to come up with solutions for specific problems. But then we entered the second wave, the so-called large language models, the ChatGPTs, if you like, in which all of a sudden it was clear that it was bringing something else. And there were lots of breakthroughs in different areas, but we failed to understand at the time what was the actual value that it would bring into the manufacturing space. But then very recently, there was a third wave, which is the AI agents. So systems that leveraging, again, LLMs technology, but merging it with real manufacturing data, these systems go beyond single tasks and are capable of adding really tremendous value to organizations. So this is what I call the thinking factory, which is a kind of a replacement of the main brain of the software solutions from deterministic rules to really intelligent thinking processes, and they will go side by side with humans in the factories. So, all of a sudden, when I started talking about that, it was like wildfire, and everyone talked about it throughout presentations, discussions, because it's really exciting, and the potential that it has to bring to manufacturing is tremendous.
Yeah, and I'm guessing as well a related theme to that, I guess, potentially to enable, partly enable that is the importance of unified data strategies and modern architectures. So I believe that was also a talking point. Just tell us, why that's so important, if you like.
Sure. Yes, there were several conversations or discussions at the show from both a strategic level and a technical level on unified data strategies. But I kind of view it as unified data strategies and just modern architectures are not just essential, but they're like a requirement for breaking down different silos and enabling end-to-end visibility across manufacturing operations. That's one of the main key points is end-to-end visibility. And when you have your data that is standardized and accessible and contextualized through a modern architecture, it becomes possible to drive advanced use cases that take advantage of a lot of the different forms of artificial intelligence that Francisco just spoke about to allow you to do things beyond just predictive maintenance, but predictive operations and real-time optimization, AI-driven decision making. And without this foundation, I kind of view it as digital initiatives are more likely to kind of stall, especially using artificial intelligence because of inconsistent data integration issues and just limited scalability. So it's not just about the connectivity, it's about making the data usable and trusted across the entire organization and accessible when you need it.
Yeah, and I would add that all these AI initiatives across companies, if you don't have a really unified data strategy and modern architecture, is what we typically say, garbage in, garbage out. And so even today with AI initiatives, most of the time, and I mentioned this in my talk, nearly 80% of the work goes into collecting, cleaning, and organizing data. And so because of that, great models are built on clean, well-structured data. And if you don't have those, you cannot really create value. And now with Gen AI and with AI agents, it's exactly the same thing. Without structure, contextualize, meaningful data, without a holistic representation of the entire manufacturing, Gen AI can only provide a fraction of the value, or even worse, can hallucinate, which is something that LLMs can do when they don't base their decisions or their suggestions on really, contextualized information.
Okay, and I realized I probably got the questions I was going to ask in the wrong order. So before I ask you about supply chains, perhaps it would be sensible at this stage to ask about the convergence. I think another theme was the convergence of AI and manufacturing execution systems. So yeah, tell us what's going on there as well. That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, so I can touch that. I think that in the past we've always looked at MES, which is what we call the execution, the transactional world, separate from the analytics world, where we would just simply collect data and try to generate insights. But today, I think what's clear is that there's three main elements, which is the automation, so the areas that collect information or that maybe talk to the hardware, to the equipment. There's the execution portion, and there's the analytics, and all of that need to work together. And more than work together, they need to create synergies between themselves. And this is what I called in my presentation the Holy Trinity of smart manufacturing. And this basically allows not only a lot of scenarios of interplay between the different systems, but actually create a data model from scratch, a data model that has manufacturing data structures and are really a powerful foundation for digital twin. So we cannot look anymore at these type of solutions like separate solutions. They need to work in synergy for creating value to the manufacturing, to the shop floor.
Okay, and then on to the supply chain thing. So I think there was some focus on the need to build resilient supply chains, and I'm not sure if it's related, but also want to know a little bit about the advancing of software-defined manufacturing. So perhaps one or both of you can speak to those those themes.
Sure. I mean, software-defined manufacturing is still a newer concept. It's a powerful concept, and if you're not familiar, it flips the traditional manufacturing model kind of on its head. The idea or premise behind it is instead of your operations being kind of constrained by physical equipment and physical or rigid workflows and hardwired systems, the software-defined manufacturing it means that logic and behavior and the orchestration of production is actually driven by software. And it results in making the factory more flexible and responsive and intelligent. So it's kind of a simplified shift from the machine defines the process to the software defines the machine and the process. And this allows, you to do reconfiguration of production workflows digitally. You can deploy updates to new products via software. You can scale or customize processes, and you can separate your hardware from your logic. Now, this is still like I would call it's more of a philosophy right now that companies are trying to deploy, and it actually came from the automotive world for software-defined vehicles. But we are starting to see companies embrace this idea of putting their software at the center of how they're actually designing the manufacturing, what used to be the physical operations into the software side. So it's a shift that we're seeing. I would say that there wasn't anything directly talked about on that concept in this particular summit, but a lot of the different presentations would support this particular idea when you start to see how the software is taking over, and not just taking over, but the way that it's being configured is replacing some of the manual aspects that have been kind of held true since the existence of manufacturing.
Okay, and a couple of other topics. I think the idea about scaling MES globally is I guess it's not a new concept, but it's still an important thing that people need to be focusing on. So was that something that was covered at all in the event?
Yeah, this is always something which is discussed because although it is a topic that you're right, it's discussed for some time. Um, I don't think that there's anyone that's doing it perfectly. So the industry is still learning on how best to do that. Um, and many of the type of manufacturers that we deal with and that were present at the summit and that even did some presentations. These are manufacturing organizations that may have a dozen, 2 dozen, or even some of them more than 100 plants globally. And so what's interesting is that if you take a normal deployment methodology of an MES plant by plant across more than 100 plants, and if you take, even if you're very fast at deploying such an enterprise solution, like 6 months, you're going to take 50 years to do that. And so there's got to be, different type of strategies. And these are some of the things that we typically discuss. And there's aspects like creating center of excellence organizations within companies that cluster different type of manufacturing plants according to different levels of similarity of manufacturing processes, and then provides a templating of the solution that can be then fastly deployed into all the factories of that same cluster. And so the critical aspect here is how can we, in such a large program, do what is typically known as think globally, act locally. What are the type of things that we want to get strict control over from a corporate perspective versus what is the degrees of freedom? What are the degrees of freedom that you want to give to the different organizations? And because an MES is so deeply ingrained in these type of concepts, it's really interesting how different organizations are, addressing this problem.
Okay, yeah, and I think one final theme I picked up on was the fact that the MES is there, or part of its function can be to enable compliance for regulated industries. So again, was that something that was touched on, and is that growing in importance? I'm guessing regulation doesn't tend to reduce by as time goes by, as if anything it increases. So is it becoming more important as a an opportunity, if you like?
You want me to take that one, or should you?
Sure, I can start and you can add on to it. I mean,
Good.
more important, I think it's allowing it to be easier. I mean, MES software basically provides real-time traceability. It provides genealogy tracking, audit trails, all of which are essential to meet things like FDA, ISO, or EMA requirements, but they also reduce the reliance on paper records, which are prone to errors and harder to validate. And so by integrating quality checks directly into the production process, MES can detect and respond to issues before non-conformances occur. And this proactive control not only supports faster audits and recalls, but also builds a culture of compliance into day-to-day operations. I mean, you're basically enforcing process control and capture detailed records at every step of the production. And it ensures that the workflows are validated, that the electronic signatures are correct, and prevents deviations all across the spectrum. So it allows it to be so much easier to meet regulatory requirements.
Yeah, and I think Jeff is right. So, an MES plays really a crucial role in enabling compliance. And talking about regulated industries, like in our case, medical or pharmaceutical. And yeah, so MES automates data capture, maintains, detailed records to meet requirements, like for instance, requirements from the FDA or GMP, traceability, real-time monitoring, audit trails, all of that. So I think MES really enables this accurate, timely, and secure documentation of manufacturing activities, which is key to achieving and demonstrating the regulatory compliance. But having said that, I think under the main theme of AI, I think the LLMs will challenge some of these methods and concepts of applying technology into regulated industries, because it's going to be much harder to apply these concepts when it's so difficult to understand some of the times the reasoning behind some of the decisions that future AI systems will make. So we're going to have some exciting times ahead and try to see how the regulatory bodies will, incorporate all this new thinking into their processes. Because at the end, of course, their main concern is the evolution, of course, but also security and safety.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a brilliant sort of insight into what was covered in the conference. But I know, I suspect, as you outlined earlier, where you were, there was social activities which were great fun as well. But I think one of the other things, the actual summit you featured was the partner awards. So please tell us a little bit about what they recognise. You don't. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you to tell me who won all the different awards, but just give us a flavour of why the awards were an important part of the summit.
Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, very good. So I know, I think one of the things that we always executed in this type of events is the notion that it's not just something that critical manufacturing is doing. So what we have is basically an ecosystem of companies, of partners, and they are contributing a lot to the success that we've been experiencing. And so there's a special category of, what we call partners, which could be technology partners, which could be system integrators. And they're providing a tremendous help because for some of those, first of all, in technology terms, we might not have all the answers, and we might need a lot of inputs from different technology partners. When it comes to scaling, and we talked about before, global scaling across dozens, if not hundreds of plants, we need those partners to scale, to be able to have the size that it needs to do this type of deployments at scale, to have the geographical presence, to have sometimes the segment or even customer specific knowledge. And so, I don't think we'll be able to grow both the company, the business, and the ecosystem if it was not for these partners. And so because of that, the awards are something that very creates a lot of expectations, creates a lot of excitement. And so we're able to award partners in different ways, like the partners that have done more projects with us, the partners that are doing more commercial activities with us, the partners that have invested the most in having people certified in our technologies. So those are some of the categories, beyond, of course, the partner of the year, the one that's excelled across all these different areas. So these were all awards that were provided and recognition that was given publicly to everyone so that they understand what is the contribution that they are giving to the overall evolution.
Okay, and maybe just in sort of summarizing, we've covered a lot of ground. I'm wondering, I mean, from what I sort of read about it and you talking, I mean, if there is a key message, and bear in mind what you just said about the positive, is it the fact that with so much complexity, but also the opportunity that collaboration is sort of front and center, that the acknowledgement that no one organization can do everything, or were there other sort of equally important, or am I barking up the wrong tree, or was that something to take away? And what else would you say was important, if you like?
I might actually, chime in there first. I would say exactly that. If there was, one message to take away from our summit, it's that the scale and complexity of digital transformation demands greater collaboration than really ever before. And no single organization, manufacturer, vendor, integrator can do it all alone. So the opportunity is huge, but it requires a connected ecosystem with expertise, with the right tools, with the right vision to all come together. And honestly, that's why critical manufacturing is committed to being more than just a software provider, but a strategic partner. We want to work alongside others to co-create value, to reduce risk, and to accelerate transformation. And in an era and time this complex, choosing the right partners is just as important as choosing the right technologies.
Yeah, I would add that when we started doing this, we didn't find anywhere in the world an MES conference with this size and with this inclusion of people and company from all sorts, from all directions. And this is not a commercial, directly commercial activity. So it's not like marketing polish type of presentations. Everyone was there to share. Everyone was there to learn. Everyone was there to try to set directions and trends. And that's why this can only be done with this ecosystem. So beyond the technology partners and system integrators that we talked about, we could have in the same place technology startups, which was a new area that we started having today. So, companies that were fulfilling in a very innovative way solutions for some particular problems, but even prospects, people that are just starting to think about digital transformation. We had competitors, in the same space where everyone was sharing what was going on. So I think one of the things that we wanted to do was to have an MES and Industry 4.0 conference that would be, bigger and larger than what a single company can do. And I think at the end, I think we achieved that, and we're really looking forward for the next edition because this trend will continue, and we want to make it even larger, even more inclusive, with even more contributions from everyone in the industry.
Okay, as I said, it's been brilliant to chat to both of you, and thank you so much for sharing the insights as to what went on at the event and your thoughts as to how the industry is progressing more generally. So Francisco and Jeff, thanks so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.